everybody's favorite podcast about an obscure X-Files clone from Fox from the 2000s. Like always, I'm Alice of Water.
I'm Ludovico. I'm here too. A guest of mine saw parts of Freaky Legs today, and he wasn't amazed because it was the episode we're talking about today.
After having a very specific thing about it, Derek and the crew set out to Valley Vista, a place for medium and psychics gathered to resource with now scoffed an obscure white that Derek water Adam life. After meeting the competitor Stuart Carmichael from creepyclicks.com, they meet a psychic who knew both Adam and Ashcraft before they died. They found out that Adam was trying to publish Ashcraft's own novella called The Harbingers.
It's implied the matter could be connected to Adam's death. When Derek goes to visit another psychic, he instead finds Vince Elsing, who talks in riddles, as always. By using a night vision camera, the crew finds out that the titular Harbingers from the book are real and make people commit violent crimes. Jason and Derek have a big argument, which leads to Jason leaving and then properly getting possessed by a Harbinger. In the end, they find out the antidote against them is the book Ashcroft wrote, so they upload it to an online server which instantly nukes all the Harbingers. Jason and Derek are pals again. Cue another dream sequence. The end.
This episode.
I skipped over a bunch in the summary, just mostly because I was so annoyed at the episode. I didn't want it to go through it point by point again to write in all the little parts in this, because there's so many little side tracks that lead nowhere. Like the time they get attacked with an axe, and it's like a Shining reference.
It's like the weird like the Latino character they meet that just random shows up and who is implied to be psychic.
Yeah, and that's just used to like reinforce the love triangle, which is like this episode is probably the most annoying in the entire show. How much they go on the whole Lan, Chloe, Derek love triangle.
It's just when we talked about doing this episode, I thought and we thought as well it's gonna be just another boring episode, and it is a very boring episode. But this is very different from like the other boring episode that was like the ghost one, because this legit to me is incredibly awful, where the ghost one is just incredibly boring.
Yeah, the other one was boring. This one has like problems in like every sense. It has like structural problems, narrative problems. There's like problems with the direction. There's problems with the script. It's just weird.
It's incredibly not good. So, but yeah, like to give an example, this episode really was a very like snail pace, because this stuff with like Ashcroft and the Harbingers is only 30 minutes into the episode in a 40-minute show.
Yeah, that they actually start appearing.
And it's just this very slow build up to nothing.
Also, yeah, this is like I think we foreshadowed. This is like a fake lore episode. They try to taunt us by like implying this is very important and is gonna like unveil more about Adam and his death, Derek's brother, and it just doesn't like actually reveal any information.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because the whole thing's like, wow, this was after Desert Squid. This was like the only lore episode of these things. At first you think, oh, it's gonna be about Derek falling his water, and like it's basically nothing. It's just a side story of his water, basically.
Yeah.
But they have like the guy like from the Creepy Link site for some reason. He's here and does nothing.
He's just there to like remind us of episode 1. Because like I think Derek makes a Mollberg reference, which I think is the guy from the first episode which wanted the Native Americans head.
Yeah, it's just bizarre because it uses these. I guess it uses these characters from the first episode.
Also, there's a real cinema sins moment here.
Wow.
Because Lan looks through the things of Adam, and she sees the Native American chief's head. But in the end of episode 1, Malberg, the collector of like cryptid stuff, gets the head. So either they just didn't fill in why this happened, or for some reason now Derek's dead brother has the head, and it's never explained. It's just used for a throwaway gag in this episode, but it's a narrative inconsistency.
It feels like this episode really wants to go, yeah, remember this. This is Derek Waters here, and it's just for nothing really, because this. It's not that I'm saying, I'm angry that because they don't reveal the plot, they got a lot of quick links. It's like they do nothing with it. Technically, there's stuff like they introduce like a girlfriend for Adam's water, but it actually goes basically nothing.
Yeah, a whole subplot I didn't mention is Jason getting an offer from his father to work for him, and then denying that at the end when he becomes friends with Derek again.
It technically goes into, I guess you could link it to the 9th episode, but that's nothing. The 9th episode is about that technically, but it does not reinforce this.
They were actually written by the same person, this episode and the episode where he goes to his father.
Yeah, the programmatic issues episode. Yeah, that's gonna be another thing.
Yeah, I think this guy, the guy who wrote 3 episodes. It's this one, the one with his father, and I think the third one is the one in New York with the mole people.
Well, when the mole people one is good.
Yeah, the mole people one is definitely the best one of those 3.
But yeah, it's just feels nothing because the entire episode wants to give like this weird time kind of like what is happening to Derek's water, and it just feels nothing because it honestly does not. It doesn't really contribute to the story overall. Nothing we learn about this episode goes next, and also it's just an incredibly like I don't feel pain for them like in the same way I felt it in the Velvet Squid episode because it feels all super superfluous.
Yeah, they really focus on like Chloe's and Derek's grief and the psychic woman who we'll never learn the name of, I think.
Yeah.
Which is really weird for like a side character to not even have her name mentioned.
Yeah, I just don't know who she is. This is random woman that was the girlfriend of Derek's brother.
She was like, I guess, a kindred spirit, as the show said. So that's like implying a lot of stuff. They could be friends. They could have been lovers.
Yeah, but it's just I feel nothing for this episode. Like nothing, none of the grieving moments really struck me.
Yeah, me too. Like it felt very American television grief. In a way, this episode reminds me of Dexter, but it's probably just the Cuban or South American music that plays like 3 times.
No, what's the issue? This episode doesn't have the Minotaur Man.
Yeah, there's just a lack of Minotaur Man. I actually find it cool that after the credit scene, they have this like mock-up version of the Harbingers where it's just a puppet.
Yeah.
And I think they should have gone with that for the real Harbingers. They just should have had that silly puppet attack people. It would have been such a better episode.
Okay, I guess the thing is like I guess for I'll say my opinion. To review, then we'll go deeper into the other parts of this episode. Overall, I don't think this is a good episode. This just feels very meandering. The stuff with Derek's water feels very meaningless and not really that dramatic. I cannot connect with it. The episode is just very much kind of awful, and it's boring, but in an awful way because nothing happens. The writing is horrible. It just introduces a bunch of side stuff that never pays off in this 40-minute episode. All for like a fake a fake. This is a long episode, all for a fake way to get you interest in what's an incredibly boring episode. Because which is shame, because I do love the idea. I love the general idea that it plays with of like reality, something fictional becoming reality.
Yeah. Or I guess that's not even the implication here, because what they actually, I think, imply is that like DeSanto is involved with the Harbingers or created them, and the writer is basically trying to do magic by writing the book.
The writer is actually Alan Moore. He's doing the writing.
Yeah, he's basically Alan Moore, and he's doing my writing becomes real thing to like combat the things, the Harbingers. Before we go to the like that idea and how it's like executed way better.
Yeah.
The forced conflict between Derek and Jason really annoyed me.
Yeah, it annoys me as well. It feels meaningless. It feels just trying to get to armor and all everything. It's just like, why?
That was really like, okay, we gotta have the two friends have a fight, so this episode doesn't feel as incredibly boring.
The side, not the side cast, but the rest of the fake killing school just gets nothing in this episode.
I mean, Lan gets more time than probably in most episodes in this.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, that's the setting. I don't think Lan's writing in this is that good or interesting or anything.
Oh no, definitely not. I'm just saying she gets more screen time, and she actually. This is probably the only time where she gets to do the thing at the end.
Yeah, it's very sad because she's normally the support character in the series. She's like there just to do like the tech stuff and everything in this, and she actually gets involved with this, but it's just not that interesting. It's just mostly just there to do some dialogue. And for that really bizarre scene I talked about, like she meets another psychic, I guess.
Yeah, but it's only about. It's only making dirty joke at the end.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing there. There's really nothing.
Because the psychic says something about. I saw that, or I understood that when it's like implied that Lan thought about having sex with Derek. Like that's the whole point of the psychic dude who is also a barkeeper. Is like, oh yeah, I can read that you're horny for this guy. And like we know this since episode 1, and there's no development. They're just baiting us that this love triangle thing will lead anywhere, and since we watched the show, we already know. No. There's not gonna be a polycule, and there's also not gonna be okay, they're now together, whoever would end up together at the end.
Yeah, that was actually what I was gonna say as a result, but like, just make them poly, honestly. Just 2000 X-Files clone, please just make them poly.
That would be so funny. I think Fox would like lose their minds if they realized they had like a show on there that had that.
Yeah, it's just like just two things. First, I think this episode must have some rewrites because this feels incredibly like something that went to a couple of rewrites.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that this has only one writer credit.
This just feels incredibly like I had a bunch of ideas, but I had to change them, so we get this nothing of an episode.
Yeah.
And like I don't think there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's nothing inherently wrong in the using like. There's lots of good writers that manage to weave like lore and episodic storytelling in a way that like it's maybe related to the main story, it's just a part of the main story, but it's not really related. There's a bunch of good storytelling that does that. It's just this is not that because it just tricks you and actually does nothing with these elements. Derek's water is not. It's just there as a way to lead you to the story. Nothing more. The Creepy Leaks guy is nothing. I don't know why these characters are here.
What really bothers me is, even for Freaky Links, and this is right after the Desert Squid episode, but the story is like way too much out there. Like for Freaky Links' usual tone, which is like ghosts or monsters. And now there's suddenly magical book that cures your Harbinger.
Yeah, this feels a bit more, I guess, the word is pulpy. It feels more pulpy. Well, Links normally is in the tradition of like X-Fi stuff. Like, there's magic and stuff, but it always feels like more, I guess the name is like urban fantasy in a way.
Yeah, there was like, in no episode, there was just like outspoken, yeah, magic is real, by the way. Like, they didn't establish that in any of the other episodes.
Yeah, it's like, normally the tone of this show is normally setting up these things like the elements of like this weird world, even if it's very much like heightened and everything. Like this just feels very pulpy in a way. I like.
It makes sense in the context of like, yeah, the kind of references they do, I guess, to like stuff like Lovecraft and Stephen King. But
yeah, I think for I just want to mention the guy that plays Ashcraft.
Yeah.
Is the actor that plays God, I don't remember his name actually, but the character he plays the main villain in the Phantasm movies, which was like this cult classic. Like,
oh yeah,
movies.
yeah.
This episode just filled with references to horror and stuff like that.
Yeah, like with the Shining axe thing, right?
This it feels very much trying to seem to very like go, wow, cool reference to horror.
Yeah, and this is like the 2000s, so in this time this is like pretty novel to have like referential humor in a horror show.
Yeah, like the Shining reference stuff is weird because it's like it really goes nothing besides it. Remember the Shining?
Yeah, I do. Like everybody remembers The Shining, I think, who saw it.
Yeah, and Ashcraft is like he's very obvious like. He's both like Stephen King and Lovecraft at the same time, in a way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote into my notes. He's like a confluence of those two guys, but also like a poor guy at the same time because he like has to distribute his book for free because he just wants to spread awareness of the Harbingers.
Does this say in which state it takes place? Because both of them are like New England writers, and like and these two have like that's like small town feel in a way.
Yeah, I guess the implication would be that it's like west coast, so like New England or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think much as we go like this, like we mentioned when, like we were talking about before with this, those are media not examples of like the idea, like just in a way. Fiction colliding with reality.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories that have like that element in them, and where it works a lot better.
Yeah, like it's interesting because it's always a storytelling way that I always like because I do like. I guess it's mostly because I'm neurodiverse. I'm autistic. I often have difficulty telling reality fiction apart. As a person with mental illness and issues like that, so it appeals to me. Also, just appeals to me as somebody who thinks a lot about storytelling and how storytelling affects other people.
Yeah. I actually did some thinking about like on the second viewing about like how if you're really generous, you can interpret. You can interpret it as the power of creativity to like set people free from like bad ideas or something. But that's like a very generous reading because like the show doesn't really put the effort in to make that point clear.
Yeah, I think it's trying to do something because it is like this book is obscure. The art is very far, but at the same time, just releasing it into the internet makes remove the monsters. And give me this information, but that's I don't think it's some like clever statement about the power of like not copywriting in public domain or something.
Yeah, how public domain is actually the best thing. I don't know if it's doing that because even its understanding of the internet is so weird in this because they get like surrounded by these Harbinger zombies and then they upload the novel onto the server and it goes online. And the moment it's online, like probably 0 downloads, nobody knows this even exists. but it immediately emits like a giant light on this like night vision camera, and it just heals everybody instantly. Like, what? That's not how information works. But then again, one of the possessed Harbinger guys just falls on the book and it cures him.
Yeah,
Like, I get what they're going for. They're even explaining it, that it's like a holy book. That it's like the equivalent of like using the Bible to do an exorcism.
I think what this way is happening is they're just combining various like sources because it's like it has the Stephen King influences, it has the Lovecraft influences. I think it's just trying to put all that horror into one story. It does not work.
Yeah, it's a pastiche, but it's like working with too many colors on the palette, so it's like becoming confusing.
I think the Harvester stuff may be inspired by the King in Yellow, actually, but
with it like turning you insane.
Yeah, I think it's trying to like I think it's just trying to do a pastiche of those stuff. So have like that vagueness with like the storytelling method, the fiction to reality saving the day, the stuff with Lovecraft, because in a way they do try to do that stuff with madness and stuff like that. Which is like for these days it's incredibly fun. That's the madness stuff with Lovecraft, like every Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah. That's like one of the many aspects that didn't age well, or were even bad at the time, and people knew.
We'll talk about this one when I guess we're going more into detail about Lovecraft, but yeah. I think it's just trying to sound like the thing with pastiche is with a good pastiche or a good homage, especially in horror, it needs to feel like it comes from a place of honesty, of like heart. This just feels so convoluted, so trying to nothing. The stuff with the Harbingers just comes 20 minutes into the episode. It feels like nothing when it feels like just remember the horror thing I liked it in a way that's not honest or interesting at all.
Yeah, I don't know, because like when it does the whole oh wow, this story is so silly at the start, it doesn't feel like it's paying homage to pulp horror. It feels like, oh, isn't it hilarious that people thought this was scary? Now we're doing it and it's actually scary because we have a magic internet server.
It reminds me in a way of like, not like a certain part of 90s comics was like, ha ha ha, Superman, he was bad. Now he kills people. Now that's the real. That's real, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going at, like with this particular thing and the whole section at the start, when they actually did exactly the story they are parodying at the start.
It just feels like a very 90s and even early 2000s to like, wow, this silly thing. That's silly, but
yeah, it's a bit like. It's a bit like they're trying to do a House of Thousand Corpses thing, where they disrespect the whole horror thing and then they get punished for it. But they're doing it like even worse than Rob Zombie.
Yeah, but it's weird because there's no like lesson for it, because there's some like struggle within Derek saying, haha, my brother likes this work, and like his brother actually seems to like the work and everything, but there's nothing there. There's no like big moment of this. It feels very mother in what's trying to say anything at all.
Yeah, it's not like Derek comes back with a found appreciation for pulp horror. He only learns that his brother read the book in part because he knew it was like a real thing, and that by printing or releasing the book he could like fight the enemy, which at this point we just have to assume is like DeSanto, or maybe there's like a even more evil entity behind them. Who knows? You know how these shows go. Yeah, you know how these shows go. There's 7 seasons and suddenly it's Cthulhu.
Yeah, the final season was we had Skunk Cape, the floor, the Florida Skunk Capes, Desert Squid, the West Cape with the American person's head, Van Helsing, and the Freakling School fighting against Cthulhu. That's how they end up.
Yeah. Just.
And then on 100 Gags and Snoop Dogg and the Zoker, they also up as well.
It would be cool if they could like travel to the past and like the black characters could call Lovecraft racist. That would be a good payoff. That would have been a better episode than this.
Yeah, like I guess like I mentioned before, like this doesn't appeal to me like really like story fiction to reality, but this does nothing that that because the stories that actually do. I guess this is why I guess the one that always also collecting this with Lovecraft. This I mentioned this. It reminds me of like John Carpenter's In the Mountains of Madness because it's a similar thing.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I think we even talked about that at some
When
point.
did Mountain of Madness came out? Actually, I don't know if it's maybe not was.
I think
It
it's a
was
90s
90s.
movie, right?
Yeah, it was 90s. But that's based on Lovecraft, so I'm not
It
saying
wouldn't be too weird to assume that like the writer saw that movie and was like influenced by it.
Yeah, that's an interesting example of that because I think that gets why it doesn't get everything I like about like the fiction turning into reality stuff, but because I like more personal stuff. But just giving a good example, I think that gets why I really like that stuff because I actually like to do stuff because the main character in that is basically Stephen King, but also. And in a way, it really gets like the horror, the horror is just the fiction turned into reality, the horror of like this.
Yeah, or being
The
caught
chaos.
in your own creative creation.
In a way, it's like the existential crisis of like dealing with your creations, of like what you create,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very Lovecraftian as well.
Which I guess is also a big thing in, like you said, Alan Wake.
Yeah,
Which is
anyway,
interesting because we made like control parallels in the last episode with Desert Squid, and now we're at Alan Wake parallels.
Alan Wake also has a Stephen King, but that's just because Stephen King's basically the horror writer guy, so everybody's just like Stephen King for the horror prestige thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think that gets really like the horror of that if you wanted to do it. This is not trying to be that because like I mentioned, the Harbingers are not created by things, but at the same time, it's so motherly. It's an incredibly motherly episode that doesn't sound that doesn't like say anything. I guess in a way because you're the one more familiar with Lovecraft's work, I guess you can comment like the connections this episode has to Lovecraft.
There's basically nothing. I read all of Lovecraft's work. I regret parts of it.
Yeah.
And like besides the first part where Chloe like quotes some prose from Ashcroft, there it's very obvious that like the writing prose is like very much in the same style than Lovecraft, using way too many descriptors and stuff. And that's like the only real reference to anything we get. Like the Harbingers themselves, they're not like reminiscents of any of the creatures I would remember from any of the stories.
Yeah, because like it's like
The only
It's like-
the only narrative aspect I can see that would like tie a bit into like the Lovecraft scheme is that he goes to a small town to like investigate a family matter. Like this is part of his family history, trying to uncover his brother's story, and that's like the center of a lot of Lovecraft stories to like
this is
deal with
actually
your
based on
past.
that, this is actually based on that Fierce People story. That's incredibly racist.
Yeah, it has some parallels because at the end the fish people also try to kill the guy, and here it's also like the villagers, they get all possessed.
With less racism, thank you, Freakalings.
Yeah, this has way less racism.
I'm pretty sure Ashcraft doesn't have a cat who's named after an actual racist lord.
But like by not including anything, any reference, and having a stand-in for Lovecraft, it's also kind of like diminishing those parts of his legacy.
It really feels just like they just, but it feels very much like somebody went, what is horror? And just went on like, just went to like the most basic things of horror in a way.
Yeah. Like
you have Lovecraft, you have Stephen King, etc.
The Shining reference has no thematic relevance.
Here's my deal, because I did not remember this episode, so I thought that it's a my first was going to be, the book has a line about the sign, that's like the signing, so it turned into this person, into the signing, but no, There's nothing about this.
That would have been so much better.
That would be clever, actually. That would actually make sense thematically.
Yeah, if there was like, if the Harbingers made you like turn into people from books you've read, that would be so much more interesting.
Or like if there was, if like the book was being recreated, if like the book Ascraft World like was being like imitated and recreated, that would be an interesting thing. That's one of my favorite parts of like that type of horror. I just like the idea of like the idea of storytelling real and controlling people in ways you cannot really imagine.
Yeah, there's a Stephen King novel. I don't know the English title, but it's called Stark in the German version, and it's just about basically the evil twin version of the main character becoming real that he like had in books, or that was ghostwriting his books.
I know that. It's called like Dark Half or something.
Yeah, something like that.
It has a George Romero movie. It's actually interesting as well because that. I have to go into the starting, but that was like a Stephen King commentating on like his whole career because he used to write under a fake name.
Yes, I know.
So it's like a commentary about like him writing what fake name and like the persona he created.
Yeah, another story that's more interesting than this one.
Yeah, not the one, not the. Actually, I'll just give a recommendation because I really love this. There's a very good comic called Unwritten that's basically about like legally distinct Harry Potter. Well, the idea is like there's a. It's based on like Christopher Robin. It's like Christopher Robin is like about the son of a popular the son of a popular wife of like legally distinct Harry Potter. That's transphobia. But basically just realizing that the popular series that his dad made was based on him, and like I won't spoil, but like that's to say that several ways reality turns into fiction, turns into reality, and it's a commentary like the idea of like the creation, how like art often takes from your life, then becomes its own life in a way.
Yeah, I haven't watched Stranger Than Fiction, but I think it's also about that.
Yeah, there's so many interesting ways you can do that in horror, in comedy, in literally every genre, because it's such an interesting area that resonates like creators and people, and just like you could do literally anything. This episode does nothing with it.
Yeah, that's what really stings, the like potential that was here. That's like, it's like the opposite of Desert Squid, where it like did as much with the concept as it could. And here it's like the opposite. It basically doesn't really use the ideas that it presents to tell a cool story.
Yeah, it's frustrating because like we talked about there's been several, even ignoring that angle, like there's been several good homages to horror. There's been stuff like Alan Wake, Cantor, like there's been so many good like homages to horror recently and even previous, even this decade. That you could just literally watch anything else besides this. Even if you want like fun meta horror that mocks itself, there's always Scream. You could watch Scream.
Yeah, sure. Scream has its weird parts too, with like the gay murder dudes. Yeah, it's definitely like
it's more interesting than this.
It's way more conscious of like the tropes and using them. There's Freaky Links episodes that remind me of like the tone of Scream.
Yeah, but Desert Squid.
Yeah, but those are better episodes.
I would recommend if you're watching this show and following along the podcast to skip this. This is a non-official Freaky Links episode. You're allowed to skip it.
Yeah, you basically don't miss anything except the funny Harbinger puppet, and that's like in the first 5 minutes, so...
Yeah, you get the funny puppet.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like sitting in like a basement somewhere.
I hope that's like alive somewhere, but it looks like it was made from the like material you would use to make a boglin. So I'm not sure if they are like half rotten by now. That's that puppet if it's still around.
It was actually made by the boglin people. It's just Jackson just ask them to make a puppet for free.
That would be amazing because it sure looked like a hand puppet. It totally was a hand puppet, I think.
But This episode is so disappointing in several ways. It's like, God, I don't even. I guess it's trying to be meta horror, but I don't. But it's not interesting at all in meta commentary. It's just nothing really.
Yeah, I don't think this is like going into the meta thing. It's more like just imitating other things and hoping it means anything.
It doesn't really mean anything. We will get to inform you.
Yeah, and also like the characters don't really develop in this. They have conflict, but it's not like, yeah, it's not. It's like you said. It's not like they change in any way.
Yeah. It's just like you could do so many things with these film process and they literally do nothing.
And it's a lot of like just Chloe and Derek being sad because Adam is dead. And it's like this is well established that they are sad, and like reconfronting us with their grief should like maybe be involved in some kind of character development or like progress in the story, or else it's just unnecessary drama for like drama's sake.
Yeah, it feels very manufactured in a way, like where all fiction is manufactured, but in not an entertaining way.
They're also just going through the motions when it comes to the story here, like. Yeah. Have a funny bit here, have a bit of drama here, have a guy with an axe attack there.
Does Derek even touch the corpses in this?
No!
Wow.
That's why it's 0 out of 10.
Well,
Did the other bad the other bad episode at least had the corpse touching.
I think that was the first corpse touching actually.
Yeah, and then we had another one in the dinosaur episode.
Well, but yeah, I know we're gonna do a podcast about this, but where does this rank in like the official Freaky Link Square podcast, ranking the Freaky Links episodes?
I gotta rewatch the rest, but this is definitely like in the lowest 3 or 4 episodes.
I think this is probably like one of the worst ones. I think honestly might be probably maybe the worst one.
I don't know. I don't like the ghost episode. Like at least.
Yeah, the ghost episode's just boring.
Yeah, at least this had like moments where I was like half engaged, like the whole part with creepyclicks.com is amazing.
Yeah, creepyclicks.
Oh, that's like I'm 100% sure that Creepy Clicks was like one of the names they had like as an idea to like make the show, but then they settled on Freaky Links.
Creepy Link sounds like a worse show, to be honest.
Creepyclicks.com.
The Red New Fox show. This is Creepy Clicks, a queer podcast.
It would definitely be more funny. The name itself would be more funny for this Creepy Clicks.
I guess it would be funny to explain to people that I'm a fan of this show called Creepy Clicks. It's actually very good.
Hidden gem, Creepy Clicks.
But yeah, I think this is maybe one of the worst episodes, along with like the ghost episode and like episode 9, which is gonna be the one of the same writer, and Godization episode, which is a mess.
Yeah, it's gonna go places.
Gonna ask you, my friend Ludo, as a knower of Stephen King and Lovecraft, how would you rewrite this episode to be good?
Oof. I guess I would start with the one idea you had with like the Harbingers. Instead of like making you evil, they like turn you into characters from books you read, because that's not going into a Stephen King Lovecraft direction, but that's like just making the episode way more funny and entertaining. Because
that's almost kind of,
you could have like the main characters turn into famous characters from literature, and that would be like a very cool idea.
That's almost kind of like Douglas Adamley, honestly.
Yeah, in a way, that's a lot like that. Like his ideas, but I just love the idea of like, I don't know, Jason becoming the Count of Monte Cristo or some shit like that. That would be so funny.
As Jason becomes,
or like one of them could become a pirate.
That
and then they have to fight the pirate.
That would be good.
And maybe it
That's
could be
even
like
more.
more an idea of like how we can become obsessed with like the characters we like and stuff like that. But I guess that would have been almost too ahead of its time because like fan culture definitely existed, but it wasn't as intense as it is now in terms of like.
There was the Shin-Chan movie, I guess, that's actually earlier than Freaky Links.
Yeah, okay, but like otaku culture was like way more onto that train than American 90s culture. Like it's only with like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings that like the big what's it called, fan fiction, the big fan fiction wave only started with like the young adult wave. And yeah, yes, there's like very old Western fan fiction, I know that, but like the popularity was like rising at the time, and it would have been very cool if like Freaky Links was like ahead of the curve there, but nope.
It's not interesting.
Another interesting idea, I guess, would be to actually make there be a person behind the Harbingers, like that controls them. Because there's like no real villain in this episode. The Harbingers themselves are the villains, and they're invisible things that we see like a tiny CGI shimmer and some night vision things off.
Oh no, it's just when you said invisible things, you reminded me of Metallica's Invisible Kid.
Invisible Kid, never she was the date.
Okay, here's the idea. It turns out Metallica is in the town, and they help the Freaklings go solve the case.
It's actually Lars Ulrich is losing his shit because he thinks the Harbingers have stolen lyrics from Metallica. And he wants to sue Ashcroft, but Ashcroft is dead. So he's really angry, and he has to sue somebody.
Yeah, it's like that oh God, I hate mentioning this so much. It's like that episode of South Park where it's a Scooby-Doo parody with Connor.
Yeah, it's basically that would. Yeah, we're at the point where even that would be better than what we got.
Yeah, Fred Durst goes into passes the Harbingers. He just plays Blake stuff and they die.
Yeah, because that's magic. It's a magical song.
God, just because this is so a running episode. God, when was this like? I know that it was like Connor was from the 90s, but was Freaky Links doing the period was it doing like big new metal period?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is like peak new metal era, like the early 2000s to like 2003, 2004. That's like when everybody was on that Slipknot, on that System of a Down, on that Korn.
But yeah, I think we just like. I think the final thing is this episode is incredibly bad, but not in a way we can talk a lot about it. It's just a very bad made, but it's a very made balling episode of a thing.
Yeah, and I guess we can at least have something special in the music segment because we really never talked about it yet.
Yeah, so there's only one music person licensed today. It's Zimmy Boss. He's a jazz and salsa musician of Puerto Rican descent from Jersey.
And his song plays 3 times.
Yeah, there's yeah, in the dream sequence for some reason it's all like Latin and Cuban theme for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like implying that Lan might be. Oh yeah, they even say it in the episode, right? They say that she's Puerto Rican. Her ancestors are Puerto Rican, so it makes sense. But it's also like it only makes sense in the context of like we have to reinforce that there's a love triangle. So we have Lan kiss Derek at the start of the episode, but only in a dream. Like, it's weak.
It's very makes no sense. Besides, I guess it has the final scene where it's like
where they're in the dream again,
and also Helsing is there. I think.
Yeah, he's the bartender.
It's just like I guess it's implying, he's gonna show up. And we get to inform you have seen episode.
I think this is actually, the last time we see Elsing in the show.
I saw that extra water. Why does he show up later?
Huh. Yes, so this is basically officially the end of the A-plot of the main story. Which...
This was a good one. We did a lot. Desert Squid was good.
Yeah. And like the other episodes, they... it's not too far off that they're starting to get like really high concept.
I guess if I have to go into the music, but just one comment is like, I guess in a way that this was good because by killing off the main plot, you could just focus on this very interesting, fun pieces of horror that are more interesting than this.
Yeah, actually, I think the main plot, how it exists, probably also exists because like of people like Goyer, and so a lot of the early planning was probably done in correspondence with multiple people. So I can imagine that like the Haxon people were almost glad when they could do their own thing at the last couple episodes. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. I don't have like backstage info, but it feels like they're way more, less lore focused and more fun.
Well, we don't have a secret uncle at Haxon.
Yeah, I'm secretly pro Haxon now.
Okay, the music that plays during the scenes is fine. It's fine sounds and this.
Yeah, but
there's not a lot to talk about. But you did find something interesting.
Did I? Yeah, this show actually has a composer. I don't have the name of him, but like
it's the Fallout guy.
It's the same guy that did music for Fallout 1 and 2.
Who's also very like prolific game musician. He's still doing stuff, like even like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he works on games until today, and he is basically all the non-licensed music you hear in the show is all by him.
Which is weird because I don't think the music in Fallout is amazing, but even that it has like a theme that I can know this is kind of nothing.
I think it's actually pretty effective in like being TV music, like just heightening a dramatic moment or like having a suspenseful moment.
Not to get to the stats because we need to end the episode. I was in Mark Morgan's wiki page. That's like the Fallout guy, and he was a member of Jefferson Starship.
Wait,
because Jefferson Starship is still going.
So is he still in the band?
No, in the 80s. In 88, he joined for one of their like albums.
Huh, so he played...
to play keyboards on.
Okay. Yeah, so he was a session musician, I guess.
No, he was actually in the album.
Yeah, but was he like touring with them or anything?
Yeah, until the 90s.
Wow.
2 years with them.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on keyboard for the album Love Among Carnivals.
Wow.
But they did a lot of stuff. Fallout 1 and 2, Planescape Torment, Need for Speed Ship.
Yes. That one where they didn't want to license music, I guess.
Most recently, last year he did Wasteland 3 soundtrack for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's getting that buck because, like, he did great work, and like his work here isn't something that would be worth even releasing outside of the show, but it works inside the show on a level that, like, you don't even notice the music is there, but it like works.
Actually, Disney, I will demand a soundtrack of Wiggling release. But it's the soundtrack plus the licensed songs.
You know what? No, we have to release a vinyl.
Release the
Freaky Links vinyl.
Release the Freaky Links vinyl, God.
Get it to trend on Twitter, listeners. # release the Freaky Links vinyl.
Yeah, that's good with the Freaky Links army. We need you. We need you to ask you for Disney to release.
Did you just utter the words Freaky Links army?
Yes. No. Yes. yes, fellow Freaklings fans and Freaklings Army, we need your help. Get Freaklings trending on Twitter for Disney to Disney Plus.
We need the 4-hour cut of Desert Squid.
Let's make the Freaking season 2 happen. Let's do it. We can do it. 2021 Freaking season 2.
We have
Disney Plus.
We just have to keep harassing Fox News people for 2 years. Would not stop. It's gonna work.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it with it. We're gonna do it with it. The Freaking Army with it. God! Yeah, that's another request. We're gonna do a Freaklings Reddit for the podcast and for the shows on. We're gonna do the Freaklings.
Yeah, there needs to be a Freaklings Reddit.
Don't forget to post your favorite fan art, your favorite fan fiction for Freaklings.
Oh, now that's... Yeah, this is actually incredible fan fiction based, this entire show with the whole love triangle.
Don't forget to put us on, send us to the official Freaklings fan website.
I mean, I ship Jason and Derek.
Don't forget also to get the Freaklings Bitcoin.
We're gonna sell the pirated YouTube versions of the episodes as an NFT. No, we're actually not gonna do that. Don't worry, people. We're just joking.
We're not gonna destroy the environment.
We're not gonna destroy the environment just for Freaklings.
But yeah, Disney, if you listen to this podcast, contact us. We're gonna do the remaster Freaklings. It's gonna be like those YouTube remasters for And Justice for All by Metallica. We'll do it.
YouTube could just like make it, tie it into like Marvel, the cinematic universe.
Yes, the Freaklings school now are part of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, they meet like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Derek fights the Hulk. It's gonna be fun.
Derek wins.
Now they're actually gonna fight the Mole Man. To tie into to the New York episode, they're gonna fight the Marvel villain, the Mole Man.
Yeah, the thing is, this would actually work. That's the weird thing. Like, you could actually, I think, most episodes find a Marvel villain or pendant that, like, works out in some way.
Yeah, but you have to end this. Like always, thanks for listening, thanks for the podcast. You can find me at Screen of Ireland on Twitter. Alles wat on Twitter and YouTube, etc.
Ludovico _limited.
Big blah blah.
Yeah. On Twitter. And yeah, I also sometimes do a speedrun or two.
But like always, thanks for the podcast.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Bye.
Hello. How do you do? I'm Stu Carmichael, editor-in-chief, creepyclicks.com, your premier news source for paranormal news on the internet.